Hello, welcome back to my channel. Happy spring. It is not hyperbole when I say that I have been waiting for spring with bated breath. I'm brand new to New York. My husband and I just moved in December. What a move that was. Starting New York in the middle of winter is a little bit terrifying. Actually, the beginning of winter, it's a little bit terrifying, especially when you're not used to it being fully pitch black at 4 p.m. or the way that things are much colder here. It's just a completely different lifestyle than we are used to living. And I understand that it's been a pretty mild winter for New Yorkers. So I'm really happy that we started our move to New York in this like winter zone, because now I feel like I've just arrived. Like I'm finally going out to the city and finally having fun. And it's kind of, I'm a little bit daunted because I did take such solace in reading and making soup and being cozy at home. But now I have this just like, this desire to be out and about. I do think that lends itself to my TBR today, and that's what we're doing, is my spring TBR. I think these items will lend themselves well to taking them on the train or bringing them on a picnic, or anytime I go to a park. I think any of these will be fantastic for those outings. And that's also why, let me just give you a little preview of my little stack here. That's also why I'm doing a seasonal TBR and not a monthly TBR, because I don't really want to hold myself to a specific standard that I won't be able to meet. I would consider myself a new reader. I've only been regularly reading for the last year or so, and I've really picked up the pace recently, and that has been because of the harder winter that we had here. But I really do feel like I've selected a fun roster of books. Personally, I've been really drawn to dark fantasy, but I really want to live with the seasons and not really skip ahead to autumn, skip ahead to the Halloween time. There's plenty of time for that. And maybe a few of those types of books will slip their way in, but I really want to just really live with the seasons. It's one of the reasons why I moved up here to New York from Texas, because Texas, if you know, you know, it's either a big block of summer or just like like a gray dinge weather that some would contrive to be winter. Without further ado, let's get into my TBR and I'll explain my choices. So I'd like to start out with what I'm currently reading, and that is A Lady's Guide to Fortune Hunting by Sophie Irwin. This I picked up because a YouTuber that I love, Darling Desi, this is part of her Patreon. I think it's her buddy read where she has all her patrons read the same book, which I think is such a fun idea. Maybe I'll do something similar in the future. And to me, this is the perfect just introductory book into the types of books that I want to be reading. This is a Regency romance. So far, there's no spice. I don't think there's going to be any spice, and that's fine by me. I wanted something that felt like a movie and that felt easy like a movie, and I'm about halfway through this. I think this is a barrel of fun. Essentially, it's about a young woman who recently lost both of her parents and is therefore the charge of all of her siblings financially. And they are going to come into ruin unless our protagonist goes to the London season and finds a rich man to marry. They're not from means by any means. I think that their family brought them ruin with maybe some drama. They got a lot of going against them, but the protagonist is a very clever woman, and it's just about her social climbing. And of course, there is an antagonist, a man who sees right through her and doesn't want her to succeed at her con. It's predictable. I know what's coming. I can guess what's coming, but that's what I want. I like things that are tropey and reliable and comfortable. I think that's great. As a new reader, something that I love about reading is that there's tons of movies that I wish that there were more movies in the genre, you know? So like a cheeky Regency romance with some fun social stakes, not too heavy. It's great to just have more of those offerings to me because of the nature of the availability of books. It's incredible. You know, I'm a movie buff. I feel like I'll say that many times, but I love movies so much. And there really is a limitation in exploring genre sometimes, especially when you niche down and get hyper specific, but there's no shortage of hyper specificity. Is that a word? In the book world. I feel like you're in a sense a trend in my little TBRs that I really wanted to disappear into something cinematic. So you'll see a few books that are the basis of a film that I had already seen, or perhaps lend themselves overall to like a genre. So I'm gonna do Howls Moving Castle. I have some more difficult pieces of literature in my little stack, and it was important to me to have things that felt a little bit more easy breezy to get through, especially with a pile this ambitious. Just because, again, I'm a new reader and I have ADHD that I'm not treating right now. We're just freewheeling. And I just look how spacey all this is and how big the text is. I'm sure this is like for young people, but I love Howl's Moving Castle, the animated film, and I think it's just so soothing, and it reminds me of being on a picnic. Disappearing into that for a span of a week sounds like a wonderful balm if things ever get too heavy in life. I just picture myself fully on a picnic underneath fluffy clouds reading this book and just disappearing into childhood for a moment. So I'm very excited about this. I saw this on Amazon and I was thrilled. This is a poem for every spring day, and it was edited by a singular person, but in here are different poems by different authors, and they have one for every single day of spring and every single night of spring, and you just read the poems every day. And I just thought that was such a romantic way to disappear into the season. They have these little groups of poems for every season. I'm very excited about the autumn one. It has a fox on it, but again, trying to live in the moment. This is just a really nice way to begin your day and to end your day. And if you're someone who's new to reading, I think that you could have that sense of accomplishment of like, oh, I finished something while you're reading something else. I'm not at the point where I can read multiple books at once, but knowing that I finished this by, I believe, June, it ends on the 31st of May, even though like summer doesn't officially start until June, I think 21st. This is great. This has been really fun so far. I've found some moving things in here so far, and it's just been a really nice routine kind of addition. All right, this is where I'm sneaking in some of this genre that I like to dabble into, which is sort of these like darker, almost fantasy level things. So this is Wayward by Amelia Hart. This was a book of the month pick last month. It wasn't my book of the month pick, but I wish that it had been. I started London Seance Society and it just did not grip me, so I had to put it down. Maybe I'll pick it back up later. That was my selection for the month. 2019, under cover of darkness, Kate flees London for ramshackle Wayward cottage, inherited from a great aunt she barely remembers. With its tumbling ivy and overgrown garden, the cottage is worlds away from the abusive partner who tormented Kate, but she soon suspects that her great aunt had a secret, one that lurks in the bones of the cottage, hidden ever since the witch hunts of the 17th century. Then they have two other time period perspectives of other women in her family, one of whom is the suspected witch, and I just love witch stuff. If you can recommend to me a spring set witch book, I'll be very excited. I'm gonna have to make a separate video all about the like witch books that I own, that I have read, that I plan to read. If it's witchy, it's for me. I love witch stuff. And look at this. I think there needs to be some kind of hybrid between like cottagecore and goth. Likely there already is. I just don't know what to call it. I wanna disappear into this. It's green. It's creepy, it's alive, it's beautiful. There's toadstools on the cover. Like, I know that we shouldn't judge books by the cover, but this is a really gripping, beautiful cover that I just want to display. Like, I want to make my office look like the cover of this book. So, all right. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I have tried many times to watch the Netflix series Bridgerton. For whatever reason, I don't like it. I couldn't tell you what. Maybe it's the anachronisms, maybe it's the music, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's modern television. I do have an issue with how modern television seems to compact so much story into only what seems like 10 episodes, and they just don't give you any room to breathe. I do miss a 22 episodic season. Bring it back. And everyone said to me, you should read the books, you should read the books. And something that I noticed was with a lot of movie and television adaptations of books that I've really enjoyed, I can tell that they're not very good adaptations, but I do tend to give them a free pass just because I enjoyed the book so much. For example, I don't think that if I saw Daisy Jones and the Six as like a standalone series that I would think it was very good. In fact, I feel like it's kind of dull at some points, and I think that it really should have just been like a 90-minute movie. I think that they stretched the story way too far, but I really enjoyed the book, Daisy Jones and the Six. So I thought, you know what? I want to get on the Bridgerton train so much. It looks like this fandom is having the most, like the ball, like they're just having the time of their lives. And I thought that maybe if I read the book, it'll be easier for me to get into, and then I'll have like something to kind of hold on to, and I'll actually be able to start and enjoy and finish the series thus far. I still got time. I know that there's more seasons in the works. I know that they have like a prequel series that's starting soon, and they're about to have like this big like regency style installation or like Queen's Ball. I'm sure I'm totally butchering this, in New York. And I'm like, well, I want to go. I want to participate, and I have deep FOMO for things like this, so I am just going to buckle up and read it. Among the harder books that I have for myself, because I've got some classic literature coming up, this will be another break book for me. I don't know how much I like watching spice in movies, but I do like reading it, so here's to some spice. Anne of Green Gables. Every time I look up spring lists of books to read, it's this. And I feel like it's high time that I read this. My name is actually Roseanne. I know it's always been like Rosie on the internet, but my name is Roseanne. And my mom watched the PBS mini-series of Anne of Green Gables, Anne of Avonlea. Yeah, Anne of Avonlea, when I was in her belly, in her tummy. And she named me Roseanne with an E because of this mini-series. So I feel like I need to read this. And what was really funny is I feel like I'm really interested in queer themes in literature. I definitely got on board with like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I am down the Gaylor rabbit hole on TikTok. So I watched fan edits of the TV series of Anne of Green Gables, and like Diana and Anne seem very gay. And then I read a interesting scholarly article about Ellen Montgomery's sexuality and queer themes to her work, and there were some really interesting elements about her own life that just stood out to me. Like, she went back and edited her own journals as she was getting closer to her death, and a lot of people suspect that she was editing out passages that reflected a queer identity. So I really will be interested to read this book from that perspective, because I really do think it's fascinating learning about just like queer identity in a historical perspective, just because, I don't know, living with a secret is just fascinating, and I love it. And this book, I read portions of it one night. I finished a horror novel last month. I don't know if you watched with me, but I finished a horror novel, and I just needed something else to read right before I went to bed. And I read 30 pages of this, and it was beautiful. And I saved it because I thought, you know what, this really should be devoured during the springtime. And I really do look forward to this. And this is such a beautiful copy. I hope I do not smudge it with greasy fingers, because I always am eating dinner when I'm reading. God Mersham Park. I think this is another Darling Desi recommendation. I believe this was another alternative option for her read-along on her Patreon. I know I got it from her. At what capacity, I don't know, but I think that's what it was. And this seems to be historical fiction. The main character lives with Jane Austen's family and gets to know Jane Austen. So I really do like that there's kind of some Regency era Jane Austen adjacency in my TBR this month. I am gonna read my first Jane Austen book, which is just wild to me because I've been such a fan of all the film adaptations. I can't believe I never decided to finally get up the nerve to watch one. I can't believe I finally got up the nerve to read one. They always seemed daunting to me, but I think that I'm able to get up that hill now. I want to be in the world. I want to exist in this time period. I like the idea of like, it feels like a fan fiction, but it's not. You know what I mean? I probably would enjoy more historical fiction books, but it's a novel of the Austen family by Gil Hornby. So this looks beautiful. Next, I have To Love and to Loathe, another Regency adjacent book. This actually was a blind buy for me. This was one of those blind date with a book options. When I unraveled it, I was like, oh, perfect. This goes with all the things I'm reading for spring. This seems to be like pure fantasy when it comes to like a Regency era adjacent novel. Just get it, like this is like a horned up version of everything that I've shown you. The widowed Diana, Lady Templeton, and Jeremy, Marquess of Willingham, are infamous among English high society as for much their sharp-tongued bickering as their flirtation. Hold on. I didn't know this was two people the way I was reading this. I thought it was like 14 people, but it's just the widowed Diana, Lady Templeton. Okay, that's one lady. And Jeremy, Marquess of Willingham, I mean at minimum, I heard 4 names in here because of all these commas, are infamous among English high society as much for their sharp-tongued bickering as their flirtation. Okay, enemies to lovers, baby. One evening, an argument at a ball turns into a serious wager. Jeremy will marry within the year or Diana will forfeit £100. So shortly after, just before a fortnight-long house party at Elderwild, I love that they're using the term house party. That just like immediately just like conjures like modern colloquial language. I'm just picturing people with red Solo cups. Anyways, Jeremy's country estate. Diana is shocked when Jeremy appears at her home with a very different kind of proposition. After his latest mistress unfavorably criticized his skills in the bedroom, Jeremy suggests that they embark on a brief affair while at the house party. Jeremy can receive an honest critique, and Diana can use the gossip to signal to other gentlemen that she is interested in taking a lover. Diana believes the proposal could only help her win the wager, and with so marriage on the mind, she heads to Elderwild. While Diana and Jeremy are busy making bets, they stand to lose their own hearts. That sounds so ridiculous to me. The whole premise of this, it just sounds so horned up and ridiculous. Like, I just will have to leave everything I know about this time period like at the door, because I'm like, why would any woman want to sully her reputation like that? But you know what? It's just cosplay, right? It's just set in this time period. We are just horned up and setting it in this time period. And who knows, maybe people had dalliances like that without worrying about their besmirched character. I don't know. This sounds so ridiculous, but I think it's needed because I am, you know, putting myself through my paces a little bit, that there needs to be like a few snacks among the beautiful meals that I'm going to be eating. So hold on a second. I left a book out and I have no idea where it is. I'm thirsty too. Oh, that's good squishy. Da, 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 da. I'm reading Pride and Prejudice. I've never read Pride and Prejudice. I've never read any Jane Austen. I feel like I gotta start with the big boy. I feel like this is the most well-known Austen book there is. I've got to hit it. I actually have a Penguin Classics paperback that I'm going to be hitting. These are so pretty. My Anne of Green Gables is the same. They're the, what is it, the Wordsworth or the Woodsworth editions. I just feel like I'm going to fingerprint grease these up. Also, this print is very small and very intimidating. But it's time. It's time. I need to read the Jane Austen books and not just rewatch the same movies over and over and over again. Let's do this. I'm ready to jump into this. And you know what? I can't read little snacks like this without feasting on beautiful meals like this. Like, this is the stupid reward. This is the breath of fresh air after the big hike up the mountain that this is. I'm sure everyone knows the classic story of Pride and Prejudice. If not, if you don't know, just go watch Matthew McFadden. I don't know. Watch Mr. Handflex do his thing. It's gonna be a good spring. Okay, thank you so much for watching my spring TBR. I think that there are definitely, like, it's not a lot. I have until, I guess, the 20-something of June to get through all these items. And I assume that there might be some trades. I might have some additions in there, especially if some of you guys can recommend a springy witch book. Ooh. And I also know that it'll be hard for me not to read some kind of like dark fantasy novel in this time, just because I've realized that's the genre I love the most. But I do really want to pace myself and not just read Halloween books all year round. I mean, I could, but I do want to try and be present. Reading with the seasons is the way that I'm going to bring that presence into my life. And I'm going to be doing some fun seasonal recipes. This last weekend, we went up to Pound Ridge, New York, which, if you don't know, is the area that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds live. And although I think they're very talented, the reason why I went there is because I know that Taylor Swift shot the album art to Folklore on their property. And I was like, I want to go see just this whole area. And I was met with one of the most charming towns ever. I bought some art at an antique store there, and they have a really cute Red Barn little farmer's market, and I bought beautiful seasonal food. I bought seasonal vegetables and some farm fresh eggs and butter, and I made the most delicious breakfast that I've ever made, and I can't wait to take you on those journeys with me. So I'm going to create quite a few spring tone vlogs that are just showing the area where I live, the Hudson Valley in New York, in all its glory, because I'm exploring it and I'm so passionate about where I live, and I really want to share that with you. So please subscribe. I know that's been very book heavy lately. I don't really consider myself a booktuber. I find myself to be more interested in creating cozy content. I love this emerging YouTube genre so much. It brings me so much comfort that I think that I'd love to bring that same comfort to other people. I'd love requests for any videos you'd like to see. If you want to go grocery shopping with me at these fun farmers markets, if you just want to explore beautiful river villages with me in the Hudson Valley, if you want to just spend quiet evenings at home cooking with me, if you want to see if I can make New York City cozy, that is something that I am working on. That is something I really am excited about sharing with you. Please let me know. I am on this brand new journey of creating long form content on YouTube. I've been an Instagrammer professionally for quite some time now, and this is where I'm allowed to be a little bit more playful with content creation. I have a very formulaic, specific business on Instagram that's very fashion oriented, but here I really get to play, and I am thrilled about that. So I'm happy to take requests and suggestions and just follow whatever weird creative rabbit holes we find together. So let me know, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me.